Limpopo police are on the hunt for 3 armed men following the killing of 2 women during a bus robbery. The 2 women were passengers on a bus that was traveling to Harare in Zimbabwe. The suspects are said to have boarded the bus at Bosman station in Pretoria. As the bus passed Mantsole Weigh Bridge along the N1, one of the suspects produced a firearm and shot through the front windscreen, forcing the driver to pull over. Police are investigating 2 counts of murder, attempted murder and armed robbery. Let's get more on the story. We cross to SABC News Reporter Mahlako Komane. A very good afternoon to you, Mahlako. What's the latest and what have victims of that robbery been saying to you off camera?
Yes, good afternoon to you indeed.
All right, perhaps we'll come to that story a little bit later on. Mahlako has been following it and will keep us updated. So we're going to go back to Mahlako. You were just explaining to us what the latest is and how the passengers on the bus who were robbed are feeling and what's happening with them.
Yes, good afternoon, Nzinga. I was saying that some of these passengers, they are still outside here at the Bela police station, including the bus, which I think has been processed by police. They are saying that, some of them were robbed of their passports, so which is that documentation that they do need to travel. They need to make, that necessary, those affidavits just to prove that, they were robbed and they were making their way towards Zimbabwe in Harare. But also some of them robbed of money, in terms of them needing to travel and make their way once they get to that particular part of Zimbabwe that they would be going to. And many of them saying that, it was such a they did not expect this. They were hoping to beat, that December traffic. If you'd recall, Nzinga, as we move closer and closer towards Christmas, the N1 becomes busier and busier by the day. You see those long snaking queues at the various border posts, especially at the Weigh Bridge border post, which we know that is obviously that gateway into Africa for a lot of people. So it gets quite busy. So they did not anticipate, to see what they saw, to experience what they experienced. So for them, describing that horrific incident of them being searched, being taken off the bus, to being told to lie down on the ground as they, search them. But police continue also to ask, the public to give them any information that they may have that could lead to the possible arrest of, these, suspects that these suspects that were involved in the robbery this morning, saying that there was that car that, the 2 passengers or the 2 suspects that were masquerading as passengers, they drove off in another car. There was that car that, came to help them. There was another gentleman there that was also armed that came to help them with the robbery, and they fled in that particular vehicle, Nzinga.
Mahlako, we know that 2 women were shot and killed. Do we understand how this came about? Was it during the commotion of the bus robbery? Was it outside when passengers had alighted? Do we have insight into what happened?
What one of the passengers told us, Nzinga, in terms of those 3 ladies that were shot, was that it was when one of the robbers, one of the suspects, they were commanding the driver to stop the vehicle. That gunshot that went off, it wasn't just one went through the windscreen. One hit the lady that was an elderly lady. I understand it hit her around the chest area as she was, as that commotion was happening in terms of trying to get that bus to stop, that driver having to swerve off the road and stop as was the instruction. And he also speaks of another passenger as well. She was also seemingly caught by a stray bullet, because he says she was just lifting up her head as the robbery was happening. The bullet, it wasn't necessarily, according to him, that the bullet, they targeted like, I'm going to shoot you, but it so happened that it was just an unfortunate set of events that, she got caught in the crossfire, if you may say so, whether it was that the robbers were trying to scare, to control the situation or scare the driver and the passengers, but it seemingly was not intentional that the 3 women were shot by those 3 suspects. But also, Zinga, we did obviously ask police in terms of camera, surveillance at the various toll gates, because passengers are saying that this car was following them from where they came from Johannesburg, from Pretoria rather, all the way into Kranskop. So I did ask police, have you been in touch with the various authorities on the toll gates, at the various toll gates? Are there cameras? Have you looking at cameras in terms of trying to identify, perhaps in identifying that vehicle could find a suspect and lead you to the arrest of all three of those suspects that were involved in this robbery? But also, just quickly, Nzinga, police saying that they are noticing, as the festive season, the festive season period is going on, they are noticing that increase in crime on the N1 between Pretoria and Musina. But they will be deploying, Limpopo police say, on their side, they will be deploying more boots on the ground in Nzinga.
Mahlako Komane just giving us an update, a horrific story there. Thanks so much for your time and keeping us updated on that story.